What dish is extremely easy to prepare, but makes you look like an incredible chef? Arrocheras. They're skirt steak tacos. My family is Mexican. We used to be poor and tired, so cheap and easy was key. The meat is cheap because it's tough. If you're really cheap, cube steak works. You soak the meat in lime juice for a day, and it gets soft. You can buy really nice tortillas from a lot of Mexican restaurants or roll your own from a bag max if you're hard up for cash. Add some guac. Store bought if you're super lazy. The meat can be cooked in the oven, on a grill, or on a stovetop pot pan. Here's a quick rundown of my family's recipe. Slice your meat thin. Soak meat in lime juice and salt for a day. Mid-low heat. 3 minutes seared on one side. Flip, 2 on the other side. Chop up tomatoes and onion. A quarter cup of each for every 3 normal sized avocados works. Add cilantro to taste. Add lime juice to taste. I like to add a little chili powder. We also make pico, which is just guac without the avocado. Cheese. It may not scream chef, but I figured out how to do my own beer battered cheese curds yesterday. Was quite pleased with how they turned out. Come over. Palmiers, they look fancy as heck, but literally roll out some puff pastry, coating the whole thing liberally with sugar, then roll the 2 sides into the middle and slice into pieces. 12 minutes in a hot oven and you have a bunch of caramelized biscuits which look impressive and taste so good. Came here to say that basically anything involving puff pastry fits this bill. I learned this from my sister, who used to make these ricotta and pickled pepper stuffed puff pastry hors d'oeuvres to bring to potlucks just to intimidate people. Her words. Store-bought puff pastry is like a pre-packaged self-esteem boost. Vodka chili sauce. I picked it up from a student recipe book and now it's my go-to. So quick, pretty few ingredients, and people are always impressed. Provided they like chili. Throw chopped garlic and chili to taste in a generous pan of melted butter for a few minutes. Add tomato paste, or chopped. I don't care for chopped. And whole cream until desired ratio of tomato cream is achieved and texture is smooth. Add a few tablespoons of vodka once it simmers and let it simmer for a few minutes. Season to taste. Done. Serve with fresh pasta and your choice of meat. Fish not recommended. Tomatoes have a lot of alcohol-soluble flavors that you literally will not taste unless you add some booze to the pot. It's why tomato vodka sauces are so popular. Bananas Foster, super easy, crazy delicious, extremely impressive. You just melt butter and brown sugar in a pan, add some banana liqueur, toss in some sliced bananas, add a little bit of rum, and ignite. Serve over some pound cake or vanilla ice cream, or both, and you're a goddamn dessert hero. Was expecting eat a banana while drinking a can of Foster's. Caprese salad. Tomato slices and mozzarella cheese and olive oil, salt, pepper, balsamic vinegar, and basil. Looks and tastes amazing. Roasted chicken and 4 veggies. It looks really fancy and is always delicious, but you literally rub a chicken with butter and rosemary and spices. Throw some Brussels sprouts, onion and yams in a bowl with rosemary, salt and pepper. Throw in the oven for an hour. Uncover for another 30 minutes and bingo, you win. When my son was around 15, I taught him how to roast a chicken because in his words the honeys love a dude who can cook. He's 30 now and it seems to have worked for him. Panna cotta. Easiest crap in the world. Looks pro as frick. Take strawberries and cook them down with sugar and a bit of lemon juice. Let it cool. Pour over panna cotta. Be called professional chef for 5-10 minutes of work. Soups. Use a slow cooker or pressure cooker and find stuff you like. Just come up with a fancy name for the soup and people lose their minds. My favorite gadget is my $10 handheld immersion blender. I don't know why, but everyone loses their minds for this salad. It's just chunks of watermelon, feta, mint, arugula, and balsamic vinaigrette with a tiny bit of salt. It's been a huge hit at parties. I also make this, minus the arugula, on skewers sometimes, too. I eat this in the summer, except I'll leave out the feta, mint, arugula, and vinaigrette. I make my own stromboli and spinach pies and people at work always lose their mind. It's literally just rolling out store-bought dough and putting meat and cheese in a line and rolling it. Same for spinach pies. Then I just throw them in the oven and check periodically. Also do pizza like this. I also make nachos, which as most of us know are hella easy, but I put a lot of restaurants to shame. Stacked high loaded with me 2 different cheeses, microwave to melt cheese, the tomatoes, salsa, olives, chopped lettuce, pickled jalapenos, sour cream and fresh made guacamole. Now I'm hungry. You gotta do nachos in the oven if you really want to kick it up a notch. I love dal as it's absurdly easy and cheap. The key is an ungodly amount of garlic. Matter paneer as well. Almost impossible to frick up and incredibly cheap and tasty. Paneer can be a hard ingredient to find. I've tried to make it before. Not good. Tofu is my usual go-to substitute. Not the same though. Pretzels. People think I'm good at baking or something, but no, pretzels are just easy to make. Really any kind of simple bread grandmas used to make in their homes. Challah, traditional Jewish twisted bread, is also pretty easy and looks a lot more impressive than the pretzels. Really, I think what bakers don't want you to know is that simple breads can be made really easily, and most of the time that goes into baking is waiting for things to happen. Was a baker with Heb, Texas grocery chain, and was terrified that I got hired as a baker with no experience instead of the labeling position I applied for. Making decent bread is super easy, and it really just comes down to letting the dough rise and not rushing it. Ice, clear ice. Freeze some water after boiling and you can get clear ice in your tray of choice. You can also get a sphere mold to make clear globes and use the sunlight to ignite a birthday candle. It goes well in whiskey glasses. If you can get the water in a pointed shape, you can get a clear icicle to intimidate your enemies. Then by the time help arrives, the weapon will have melted away. If you're hungry, shave that beautiful chunk with a grater into a bowl and drizzle some syrup or puree for snow cones. Want to trick your friends? Put popsicle sticks into a tray of boiled water with some food coloring in it, then freeze it. Give them the cool, transparent, colored popsicles. Bam. You just serve disappointment on a stick, you sadistic monster. So, yeah, ice is pretty cool. Anything pasta related, and some meat, some cheese, and bam, you just made farfalle mozzarella linguine spaghetti Ferrari. Bada bing, bada boom. Quiche. Buy a frozen crust. Whisk eggs and milk at a ratio of 1:2 cup to 1 egg. Break up a slice of ham. Stir in shredded cheese and bake at 350 F until the top turns golden brown. To fancy it up, try shingling in thin slices of potato instead of the prefab crust. Suddenly, Gordon Ramsay will be asking you for cooking tips. A homemade pizza. If you can roll dough well and have good spices lying around, it's hard to fail making a good pizza unless you cook it too long little. Stuffed mushrooms are stupidly easy to prepare. I mixed some breadcrumbs, parmesan, pepper, garlic, and cheddar into a bowl with an egg, then placed them into mushrooms that I had cut the stems off of and hollowed out. Baked for like 15 minutes. Really tasty and looks like a fairly fancy dish when served before a meal. They're popular party treats too. Honestly, most things. The hardest part about cooking is patience. If you can be patient in your prep, sometimes there's a lot of measurement, fine dicing, etc., marinade time, and in your cooking, low heat, most food will come out looking and tasting great. When you rush, things come out poorly. Personally, I find timing to be the challenge, learning how to assemble meals and time them so that the hot stuff is hot and the cold stuff is cold when it's time for dinner. Chicken sausage pepperonata. This was my go-to meal to impress all of my dates. It even managed to snag my wife. Downside is that now I do all the cooking, unless we feel like having blackened water. Cheesecake, stuffed French toast or cake, banana bread, etc. 1. Grease a baking pan. 2. Mix a couple eggs together with sugar and pour over the bread. 3. Mix cream cheese with sugar and an egg. 4. Place one layer of bread on baking pan. 5. Layer the cream cheese mixture on top of the bread. 6. Place another layer of bread on baking pan. 7. Bake at 350 for 30-ish minutes. Crush up some graham crackers and macerate some strawberries for topping. Risotto. Say that word out loud right now. Risotto. For something that's really just rice with delusions of grandeur. The dish sure sounds fancy. Unfortunately, not only is it as easy to make as it is to say, it's also one of those versatile offerings that can serve as a main course, a side, or even an appetizer. All you really need to do is boil some rice in some broth. Sure, there are ways you can spice it up, depending on the sort of risotto you want to make. You can add various vegetables or varieties of meat, but the base of the dish itself is just some bouillon flavored grain. Once it's finished cooking, sculpt a little mound of it on a plate, sprinkle some chopped up green onions or dried parsley over the top, then serve it alongside a glass of white wine. If the rice is undercooked, claim that it's risotto al dente. If it's overcooked, say that it's risotto paglianzani. Either way, you'll look and sound like an experienced and talented chef. Risotto paglianzani. I can't believe no one has pointed this out yet, but here you go. According to Google Translate, paglianzani translates as for the elderly, which is hilarious. Overcooked rice for the elderly. Balsamic ice cream. Toast some pine nuts. Cook some balsamic vinegar in a pot until aromatic. Let some strawberries marinate in sugar for 6 hours. Put all of this over vanilla ice cream. Delicious. Pasta dishes. Most authentic Italian dishes have very few ingredients, but all of them are tasty and not that hard to make. Mussels. Clean them like heck. Add garlic, parsley, white wine, butter. Buy good baguette to sop up the sauce. It's cheap, easy, and looks super fancy. My sister used this as a meal to weed out suitors that were intimidated by unusual foods. They would pass if they would gamely try the mussels or if they were already familiar with how to eat them. If the response was, ick, that was the last date. Roulades. Maybe 10 minutes to prepare, about 25 minutes to cook. You look like a rock star when it comes out of the oven. Fettuccine Alfredo. Alfredo sauce is ridiculously easy, but people go bananas like it's something special. Cream, butter, Parmesan cheese, some seasonings, and you've just wowed everyone in the room. I never attempt to make Alfredo at home because I realize how disgustingly unhealthy it is when I see the ingredients are literally only butter, cream, and Parmesan cheese. Sous vide anything. My sous vide pork tenderloin is a slayer, and it hardly takes any effort at all. Plus pork tenderloin is dirt cheap. Also, lemon souffle. If you can follow the very straightforward directions to the letter, it's very easy. So is creme brulee if you do it sous vide. Yeah, that thing is like cooking with a cheat code. Steak. I'm talking. I usually microwave noodles for myself and hardly even use the stove because I am not good at cooking. I can make a steak though. Nothing super fancy with any marinades or anything. I usually just toss some steak season powder stuff on it and cook it. But it is dang good and makes for a nice fancy meal. I usually have salad as a side, so that's easy too. Seared or grilled scallops on a bed of arugula tossed in red wine vinegar dressing with a piece of toasted French bread brushed with extra virgin olive oil. Bruschetta. My recipe. Minus 2 boxes of grape tomatoes, cut up. 1 handful of basil chopped. Minus 4 garlic cloves chopped. 1/4 cup olive oil. 1/4 cup good balsamic vinegar. Throw it all together. Salt, pepper to taste. Throw it on a piece of toasted bread and Boston cheese spread. Used to make this on a second or third date. It's a winner, gents. Just so you know, bruschetta is actually the toasted bread, so this is your recipe for a bruschetta topping. Make sure you pronounce it with a hard ch too. Bruschetta. Next time you get a bone-in steak or some ribs at a restaurant, notice that you'll leave plenty of meat on that bone. Now you take this home, throw it in a pot, add some broth, a potato. Baby, you got a stew going. Creme brulee. Seriously, I have a harder time remembering where to put all those accents on the name than actually cooking. It's literally a vanilla custard with burnt sugar on top. 4 ingredients: cream, 1 quart, egg yolks, 6, large, sugar, 3/4 cup, plus about 1/4 cup for brulee, and vanilla, 1 bean, split and scraped, or 1-2 teaspoons of extract. Heat cream in a saucepan until almost boiling. Add vanilla, cover, and remove from heat. Let it sit and steep for about half an hour. Think like you're making vanilla cream tea. Whisk egg yolks and sugar together in a bowl. Slowly add cream mixture. If you used a vanilla bean, pull it out before mixing. While whisking, pour mixture into containers and cook in a 325F oven. Time varies based on containers. Custards are cooked when they jiggle in the containers but won't pour out if tipped. 40 minutes is a good estimate. You can eat them now, or you can refrigerate and eat up to a week later. To brulee them, dust the tops with sugar and broil in the oven until the sugar turns brown and bubbly. If you have a small torch, you can use that. Just keep the flame moving over the top of the custard to prevent burning one spot. Sausage stuffed peppers. Made some a couple weeks ago. The hardest part of it was making the meat mixture because you took the ground sausage and added breadcrumbs and some other stuff, but it was like mixing up meatballs. Beyond that, you slice the peppers, you fill the peppers, you dump tomato sauce over it, you bake it and then add some cheese right before it's done. Bada bing, bada boom, it tastes amazing. Other than that, ribs. Maintaining the heat and smoke is the hard part. Making the ribs is super easy. Apply rub, smoke 2 hours, foil 2 hours, open foil for last hour. Mushroom mustard cream sauce. Cook mushrooms. It's almost impossible to overcook mushrooms at medium heat. Add whole grain mustard, cream, and salt. It's delicious on everything. Carbonara. It makes the whole house smell incredible and it's so easy, but tastes so great. Fry bacon, onions, a little garlic. Cook your spaghetti noodles. Quickly drain your noodles, add bacon onion mix, and crack a raw egg into it. Stir until the egg is cooked and serve. Missing from your recipe is the large amount of Romano Parmesan Reggiano and fresh ground black pepper. Anything with Hollandaise. It's fast and easy once you're past the learning curve, and pretty much nobody else makes it. Grill some asparagus and fish, steam some fancy rice, and you have amazing dinner. Risotto. The hardest part is stirring and knowing when to stop. After you make it a few times, it's pretty hard to mess up. And even if you do mess up and it's not Michelin star worthy, it still tastes good. Macadamia nut encrusted tilapia. Maybe with a mango chutney or relish. I mean, even just saying it sounds fancy as frick. But it's basically chop some nuts, cook a fish, and if you go the extra mile, it's chop some mango and pineapple the day before and mix it up beforehand. Then serve. It's not nothing. Biggest worry is overcooking the fish, but it's way easier than the fancy presentation and sound implies. Maybe add some salted spinach, garlic, butter, pan, salt, cook till it looks done. For a complete spread that looks like something from a fancy restaurant. Cooking can be tricky as heck if you want, but some simple things are really excellent. And NBSP. Try adding some taipina sauce to the fish. Saute both sides of the fish and before finishing in the oven, pour the sauce on and then top with the crushed nuts. Serve on white rice and add the mango salsa. I make a dish I call getting laid salmon. A salmon fillet. Slow cook it in the oven wrapped in aluminum foil until you think it's done. Mix soy sauce, lemon and butter in a pan and mix it while heating. The heat helps everything mix well. Pour the sauce on the salmon and add rosemary. That's it. 2 steps and it is great. With how many people I've encountered who hate salmon, that is a risky getting laid dish. Salmon was one of the first things I learned how to cook successfully. It's so surprisingly easy for it to turn out perfect and beautiful. I wouldn't say incredible chef, but for most big parties I'll make a buffalo chicken dip and my friends can never get enough. It's literally the recipe on Frank's Red Hot website. It's literally just mixing a bunch of stuff, tossing it in the oven, and melting cheese on top. Super easy, but always have people asking me for the recipe. Roast chicken. Get whole chicken. Shove a garlic bulb and lemon sliced in half inside. Bake at 425 for about an hour 25 minutes. That's it. Slow roast pork shoulder. Take a slab of pig. Rub with whatever you have. Salt, pepper, oil at least, paprika, garlic, cumin seeds, chili, soy sauce are all good additions. Chuck it in the oven. Low, about 140°C for 6 or 7 hours. Go catch up on some Netflix. Take out, rest it for half an hour. Leave somewhere warm, with a lid. Serve with a leafy green, rocket or spinach leaves, heavily olive oiled and salted, and some good bread. Bask in the admiration of all. Bread. People think it's so hard to do, but it really just takes time for the yeast to do its thing. People have been making bread for 10,000 years. It's not that hard. Flour, water, salt, yeast, a big bowl, an oven, and some patience. Boom, you got bread. Spag bol. Somehow a lot of people seem to do badly with it. I always have people saying how nice my spag bol is, but it's literally just chuck a load of things together and leave it on low heat as long as I can bear to before you have to eat. Caesar salad from scratch. The dressing is easy but so much better than bottled dressing. Dijon mustard, small amount of mayo, fresh garlic, fresh lemon juice, olive oil, egg yolk, parmesan, anchovy paste, fresh ground pepper, delissimo. So many people want to skip the anchovy paste. Never skip the anchovy paste. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.